Okay. Uh, a very warm good evening to all the dignitaries, IEEE representatives, EXICOM members of various regions, subsections, organizing committee of this event, branch councillors, and student volunteers. Myself, Dr. Sujata N. Patil, EXICOM member, IEEE ITS chapter, KLE Dr. M.S. Seshgiri College of Engineering and Technology, Belgavi. Welcome you all to this international webinar on Decoding the Hiring Process for Young Talent Skill Alignment, organized by IEEE Information Theory Society, Bangalore chapter in association with IEEE Bangalore section and IEEE Mysuru subsection. So let me start the event by briefing about the IEEE. The Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers is the world's largest technical professional organization dedicated to advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. IEEE and its members inspire a global community to innovate for the better tomorrow through highly cited publications, conference, technology standards, professional, educational activities. IEEE is a trusted voice for engineering, computing, and technology information around the globe. IEEE Information Theory Society membership enables an individual to stay current updated within a chosen technology and ensures one to touch with the peers. IEEE Information Theory Society is a leading technical society that focuses on processing in transmission, storage, and use of information as well as the foundation of communication processes. So with this brief introduction, now I would like to request Dr. Jagan HP Bangalore to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Raju Besetty, Global Delivery Lead, GS, British Telecom. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Sita madam. Welcome everybody. So it is very happy to introduce Raju Besetty here on this occasion. So basically, he has around 20 years of experience in the IT, more than 20 years experience in IT, and majorly into working with leadership team and HR and hiring process. He is very much versatile, and he's also very technically very sound. He holds BTech and MS from BITS Pilani, and so he has a lot of experience in the relevant to the topic, and a lot of delivery experience hiring. He was a hiring manager for a long time. He used to help HR activities and everything. So he is the best fit for the benefit of our student branches, and especially this is meant for students, so having so much of strength and interest from our student chapters, so we are conducting this. So I request Raju Besetty so to start his session, today's topic.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I request Raju Besetty to take over the session.
Okay. Thanks, Jagan, and thanks, Dr. Sujata. Before I get started, let me first thank the organizing committee, the coordinators, the chairpersons, the hosts, and all the people who are behind the screens to get this session sorted. And we are today to exchange the learning and the sharing process in terms of our experience over the last few years in terms of our own journeys from our peers, from our colleagues, and then how do we benefit from this session. That's the whole thought process. Now, the idea for this session today is decoding the hiring process for young talent skill alignment. So before we get into that session details, I would like to first set the expectations in terms of what we are going to cover. What is the target audience for this, right? This session is predominantly for people who are fresh from colleges. It could be your BTechs, MTechs, your BScs, MScs, and maybe in the first 1 or 2 years after you come out of college. So the focus on today's session is in terms of what happens in the mindset of an organization as to why they are hiring this particular demand slash supply, and then how do they rope that supply into the organization's culture, and then how do you as an associate be a part of this particular supply slash demand, so that we can crack this together. That's the tone before we get started. I understand we've got about 35 plus participants. So thank you so much for joining the session, taking some time out from your busy schedules to be a part of this. So I would like to say that the more interactive we are, the more benefit we as a team are going to share the experiences and learn from that experiences. So before we get started, to the quick question to the 37 participants. Is there anybody who is beyond 2 years, 3 years, 5 years in terms of their professional experience, just to get a flavor in terms of the kind of people that we are talking to?
Sir, I think final year students, fourth year students have joined.
Fourth year students. Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
Predominantly, it's the fourth year students, correct, Dr. Shobha? Sujata?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Okay. Let's get started then. Yeah. Jagan, if we can move on to the second slide, please. Okay. So this session is predominantly going to be covered in two components. The first component is the ones that you see in the green boxes, which is why do we want to hire freshers? What's the preparation and alignment from a fresher's mindset, from an organization's mindset, and what happens during the interview process, right? So these three put together will have as one bundle. And the second bundle, we will allocate that to any open questions. And if time permits, then we can have some mock interviews, maybe one or two, to just get a flavor in terms of, how somebody would look at people coming fresh from the colleges. So that's the thought process. So I would like, I like to request again that please be interactive. Please feel free to ask any questions. If I'm in a position to answer that, definitely we will clear that. If not, I will take that questions away, and then I'll try to see if I can get back through the committee to answer those questions at a later time. Yeah. So Jagan, if we can move to the next slide, please. You're not going to see any fancy slides. You're not going to see any colorful slides. What we have tried to do today is give you a very simple flavor and make it grassroots from an experience perspective, so that the message is absolutely clear, so that you can take away that and then see how you can put that into your daily experiences when you come across these kind of situations. That's the whole journey. Now, before we even start at the hiring process, let's look at where this trigger happens in an organization. Yeah. So the first step that happens in an organization is your supply versus demand. Now, every organization per se has, or rather, is going to deliver a product, is going to deliver a service, it's going to service its customers, it's going to service its clients, etc., etc. Now, based on that kind of work, an organization creates what is called as a forecast. And based on that particular forecast, what happens is planning. Now, based on that planning output, an organization would reach out to multiple organizations, multiple engineering institutions, looking for the kind of associates that an organization wants. Now, if you look at about 20 to 30 years back, an organization predominantly, the top organizations were only looking for associates from tier 1 and tier 2 institutions, correct? Because they believed that the quality of the associates would only come from that kind of institutions. 5 years down the line, people said, no, we've got a lot of opportunities coming our way. And this is probably, I'm a bit more biased from the IT space, so most of my experiences are towards those, so please excuse me on that. Now, after 5 years down the line, you see that there's a huge shift, and people started going to tier 2 and tier 3 colleges. And even then, the supply and the demand ratio was so skewed that in the last 10 years, all organizations are trying to tap the MSCs, the BScs, the BAs, you name it, any degree, as long as the associate has the right skill, right? So what I want to start is that everybody today has an opportunity. We don't have to worry that today probably there's been a campus interview, I've not been able to crack it, and that's not the end of the world. The current environment that we are currently there enables that there is sufficient space for every associate, irrespective of whichever college you come from, whichever branch you come from, you graduate from, whatever skill you have, there is enough opportunities, and in every opportunity, the ability to scale from where you start to the highest echelons. Okay, so that's our basic premise in terms of saying that that the opportunities galore is there. How do we as an associate tap into that opportunity? Okay, so that's my first prologue to say that the supply versus the demand. Now, when we started about 20 or 30 years back in the IT industry, the outsourcing space was only close to about 50 to 100 million. Today, we are talking billions and billions and trillions of money that's coming out in terms of the projects that needs to be delivered. So this is one of the best phases in our lives when it comes to opportunities. And that is something we as Indians, we are the education fabric that we have in our country, the outlook we as associates and as Indians have has an enormous impact in terms of how we can tap into that opportunity. And that is where we are saying, how do we approach that? Okay, so I'll finish that first block there, and we'll move on to the second one. Now, we talk something here about what is called as background and history. Now, what do we mean by background and history? There are 2 to 3 fundamental things here from an organization mindset. We call what is called as pedigree. We call what is called as history and lineage. We call what is called as the golden 60% come rule. Yeah, what do we mean by that? When you're starting fresh from college, whether it is BTech, MTech, BSc, MScs, when an organization wants to talk to you, it has no clue who you are, what you are, how you are. It has no clue in terms of, what is the other person like, right? And in order for the organization to have a baseline in to say, what is the associates? That is what we agree in. Now, most of us, typically, whether you call it as a state medium, CBSEs, ICSEs, etc., you would go through the grind of your 7th standard, 10th standard, and 12th standard. What we believe is, the 7th and the 10th and the 12th are something that is not in your control, because it depends upon, the environment, the state, the city, the towns that you're from, and which schools you go to. That is something the associate doesn't have control. Yes.
Sujata madam, kindly mute.
Thank you. Thanks, Jagan. So we were there in the background in history, pedigree, history, and lineage. So when an organization talks to the people in the freshers in the 4th years and 5th years of their BScs, MScs, etc., they don't have any clue of what you are as a person, right? It is the 10th standard, it's the 12th standard, it's what you score in your BTechs and BScs and whatever degrees that you have, give you a basic view in terms of what you are as a person. It shows you a certain graph in terms of your ability, in terms of what you have done in those sections and how you have fared, right? So the general thumb rule in the industry is that if you have close to about 60 to 70%, yeah, some companies say 60% is good, some companies say 70%, the bar could vary from 60 to 80%. But the standard thumb rule is anywhere between 60 to 70%. And they say, hey, if you have this in your 10th, if you have this in your 12th, if you have this in your BTechs and MTechs, etc., then you could classify that associate as an average or an above average associate. And we know that he's pretty stable in his outlook in all these areas that he or she has scored. And that becomes the baseline for an organization to even look at you, right? Now, the industry is going through a huge shift. What do I mean by that? As I said, 30 years back, they said, I'll only going to take, the BTechs and the MTechs. Last 10 years or 15 years back, they said, we'll take the MSCs and BSCs. Today, as long as you have a degree, as long as you fit the skill, they're more than happy. And in the next 5 years, there could be a shift where people might say, hey, I may not even need a degree as long as the associate has the skill. So there's a lot of things happening in the industry in terms of education, in terms of skill, right? And what is very, very important is to be socially relevant, to socially align in terms of how we can use these opportunities with the basic tools that we have, which gives us a footing for us to go to the next step in our journey, correct? So once an organization says, this is some basic criteria that I want to look at, certain companies might say, I don't even need these basic criteria as long as I'm going to come to your college and you're happy to come to the discussions and you can apply for the interviews and they're happy with the associate, they might pick up these associates. So but it is still a basic what do you call as a setting for most organizations to get started with, right? Now let's go to the next block. The next block, what we're going to say is the fresh minds, and we call them as catch 'em young. One of the most fundamental reasons why an organization goes to the freshers environment, the freshers community, is because of the fact that they are fresh, right? Somebody who's in their 10, somebody who's on their 12, somebody who's in their BTechs and MTechs, they are in their prime. They are open to the environment's consumption, the outlook, and they don't have any biases or they don't have any preconceived notions. And hence, one of the most fundamental thing is the ability open to change and what they call as an associate can be moldable. This is one of the fundamental traits for an organization when they pick up, because then they would be able to align and adapt to the organization demands. What do you mean by align and adapt to the organization demands? Now, every company, their organization fabric is completely different from the other, right? I don't want to take names, but if I say organization A, the value ethics in organization A that they follow is amazingly strong compared to an organization B, which is very cutthroat in terms of winning business deals. So the thought process is absolutely different, and hence an organization will see the candidate's ability to align and adapt to the organizational or the cultural fabric of that particular organization, right? Then we move on to the third point, which is they're all very close if you see, but everything is different. This is something called as your attitude, assertiveness, arrogance, and confidence, right? We will have to have an attitude. Everybody have to have an attitude, but what we say is the right attitude. The second thing is what is called as assertiveness, the ability to be right, the ability to say yes, the ability to say no when you have to. That is being assertiveness. Then third, arrogance. There's a very thin line between assertiveness and arrogance. And if you slightly cross the line on the assertiveness part, people will see you that as arrogant. And trust me, the arrogance in our lives, whether it is personal, professional, if that element, comes out, then as an associate, we will not be able to move forward in our journeys. That is something that will take us down. You will definitely need to have confidence. That is the one that is going to march you forward in good times and bad times, right? So a combination of your attitude, your assertiveness, the arrogance, and the confidence shapes up you as an associate to align and adapt to the organization demands by keeping yourself open to change. These three put together is only possible when you have clear thoughts, meaning clarity in thoughts. What is it that you want? What is it that you want to do? How do you want to do? I'll repeat again. What is it that you want? How do you want it? What do you want to do with that? Right? Now, and the most important thing, the basics, right? And your ability to learn new things and your ability to grasp. These 5 to 6 points that I'm talking about is a given and is expected from the fresh minds of the people who are passing out or in their third years or fourth years or fifth years, right? Now we'll go to the next block, which is skills. Now, 20 years, 30 years back, people said it is the dot-com boom. It's Y2K, it is .NET ASP. After that, 5 years, they said Java, WebLogic, right? So the technology life of any new technology is only close to about 5 years. 10 to 15 years back, we needed hardcore coders, right? But today, 70% of the coding skills is available, no matter what language you want, is available in the likes of Google and other repositories in the form of objects, right? So what is it that you're going to bring to the table? The requirement stack for an organization is changing every day, right? Even if you take our day-to-day lives, about 3 to 4 years back, I don't think WhatsApp was very, highly consumed, right? But today, people can't live without WhatsApp, correct? Yeah. So the technology stack, the service, the technology that enables our lives today is changing rapidly, right? Now, whether that gets delivered by a particular skill is not the question in play, right? That is something that will come later. But what people will look at is not whether you can solve a problem and give you the answer. What a committee will look at is whether you've got your fundamental basics clear. Because if you've got your fundamental basics clear, then you can solve any problem. And what they want is, what is the approach that you're taking, what we call as problem solving, whether the approach that you're taking is in the right path. Because if that is there, then the organization will enable you to get the outcome, right? Then the moment you have your basics clean, you have clarity in terms of whatever technology it is, your ability to learn, adapt, and be quick can be easily extrapolated to any other technology. Today, if you're good in Java, you could be good in C. Only the syntax is going to change, right? Today we say C, tomorrow we might say C#, tomorrow we might say Python, tomorrow we might say data analytics. Whatever it is, the fundamentals remain very, very clear, right? And if you understand what you want to do with the data, then you have a clear visibility in terms of the approach to what you want to derive from the data, then you've got the right skill, right? So this is something in the skills block that we have to be absolutely clear that if you don't get your basics right, you're not going to move an inch. Because at that level, at a fourth year or a fifth year, they don't want you to solve rocket science problems. The committee has no clue except for the fact that, hey, the institutions have given them some candidates based on certain percentages, or it is kind of open, right? But what else can the committee look for in you, right? They want to see whether that fresh block is available, whether the skill block in terms of the basics is clear. Because I might, the organization as an organization, I might rope in a particular supply demand, but by the time you join, the skill that I've taken you for, or the purpose that we have taken you for, might have changed. And hence, it may not be relevant, and hence you might have to be put onto another skill set. And that is where your ability to learn and grasp comes in very, very handy. Yeah. Now, we will go on to the next block, which is relevance. Now, what do I mean by relevance? Relevance means being relevant to that environment, right? Being aware of the marketplace, being aware of the current trends, being aware of your surroundings, the ability to connect and network. Yeah. So your BTech, suppose if I take your BTech or MTech or whatever it is, the connections that you make there are going to be lifelong. And trust me, all these connections will work in your journey from your 20 years to 40 years or 50 years, right? That connectivity has to be honest, has to be open, has to be transparent if you want to tap into that connectivity, right? In today's world, if you look at an organization's journey, if I say you join an organization between 20 to 25 years, and if I say your journey from 20 to 40 years, the first year, first 2 to 3 years is very common to everybody, right? You go through the same standard set of trainings, you're put in a new program, you're aligned to some seniors, you don't have the heat, your basic objective is to learn the tricks of the trade. The first 1 or 2 years, you're pretty, make yourself comfortable. And after that, then you have to start running, correct? So the first 5 years, whatever you learn in an organization, is the one that is going to propel you for the next 15 to 20 years. So you have to choose where, as I said, what you want to do, where you want to go, and how you want to do that, because that is what will dictate the journey that you have for the next 15 to 20 years. In any organization, how you perform in the first 5 years will take you to the next 5 years, correct? Standard thumb rule is up to the role of a director. You can work hard, this is your talent, you can move forward. But after that level, it's pure play connectivity, it's pure play networking, right? And you never know which network will come and help you, right? So that is a trait that you need to start imbibing from day one in your organizations. Of course, we didn't have somebody to say that, so I just thought, I know it's slightly irrelevant here, but I just thought I should share that with you guys. Yeah. Now, we have covered about close to 3 to 4 blocks, but you might think this is all a bit over the head in terms of Gyan, but every point is very, very relevant 20 years back and even today. Trust me, because when we look at whether you want to call it as a CV or a biodata, hundreds of CVs, our ability to look at these and then sniff through the right CVs, I'll come to the sourcing and the filtering process in a bit, enables for us to see if the other blocks, the associate has a tick mark in those particular relevant, does that say something in those blocks or not? Yeah. Now let's move on to the next block. I'm slightly going fast, but next go on to the next block, which is your communication skills, articulation, and storytelling. Right. There's a very strong miscommunication in the industry and also in our environment. I'm sorry to say that, but that is the way we are. Yeah. Communication is just a tool using a particular language. It could be English, it could be Kannada, Tamil, Malayalam, whatever it is, right? People believe that if you speak hi-fi English just to be relevant to the people, if you believe that you can speak English very well, or if you have a high command of that language and you can speak very fluently, you are excellent. Yes, that is a very good skill, definitely needed, definitely must have. But please understand, in any organization, as you grow and even when you start, the expectations from communication skills is not language. Again, the expectation is using language to a minimum. When I say simple language, there are two words that I would like to use. One is called being precise. The other one is called concise. What do we mean by this? Are we able to say the message clearly? And the second one, are we able to use minimum words to say that message clearly? These are the two fundamental things. Yeah. And when will you be able to do that? There are only two things. One, when you prepare, and the second one is when you practice. You have to prepare and practice and then choose the right words. I'm going to take a very small example here. People think that only geniuses can crack IITs. Correct? That's the general notion. Oh my God, if he's cracked IIT, he's amazingly excellent. He's too brilliant. He's out of my league. And blah blah blah. Correct? But trust me, even for an IIT JEE, okay, if you put in the right preparation, the right content, the right environment, and you practice, even your IITs will be very, very simple, right? So please understand that whatever you want to do, the most fundamental success formula is preparation and practice. And if you choose the right words in that preparation and practice, your ability to be precise and concise becomes natural. And please understand, as a part of that communication skills, you should have the ability to say yes, you should have the ability to say no, you should have the ability to say I don't know. Right? Now, please understand that across the entire journeys of the associates, from where they start to the highest echelons of being a CEO, if you see, when people communicate, they will use very few words. Their language will be very, very simple, because you might have to talk to a client, you might have to gather some requirements, you might have to talk to your suppliers. Your ability to articulate the ask is the most fundamental thing that will take you to the next journeys. Why? Because in today's world, if somebody says A and then it has to reach downstream, by the time A travels down, it becomes B. The reason is because there is so much of entropy, there's so much of noise, that unfortunately the communication from A, or the communication what is A, is becoming B. There's so much of noise and waste and entropy there, right? So if you have the ability to articulate, trust me, along with all the things that we have covered, then there is no looking back, right? Most of the times, people are not able to articulate very simple questions. Can you tell me about can you tell me something about yourself, right? When you go in an interview, they'll ask you some simple questions like, tell me something about yourself, tell me something about your project. The reason why people can't articulate is because you don't prepare and you don't practice, and you will struggle to find the right words. The moment you struggle to find the right words because of the fact that you do not prepare and practice, your articulation goes for a toss, right? And when I say prepare and practice and plan and choose the words, I'll come to the interview block where what kind of questions are asked, right? This is the only mantra that will save any person, meaning prepare and practice. Now, let me go to the next block, which is the sourcing and the filtering process. Now, today there's a lot of words, we call it CV, we call it biodata, we call it resume, there's PowerPoint, one sliders, whatever it is, that is a window to what you are as a person, correct? That tells you who Raju is or who any of you are, correct? Now, in the sourcing and filtering process, that one pager or two pages that you prepare tells the person who's looking at it, without meeting you, without knowing what you are, it's already telling 50% that who you are, what you are, and you know why that CV is sitting in front of him. Everything that goes into that CV or one pager tells a unique trait about you, and I say you, the person, because that is what you are. So there are a couple of fundamental things, which is you need to keep it very, very real. You need to keep it authentic. Need to ensure that the spelling mistakes are taken care of. Need to ensure that the formatting is done. Need to ensure that the alignment is done. And most importantly, please do not copy. That is a major put off for a lot of committees which review, because it says that the associate does not have any originality. Even if what you have is very, very minimal, make it true. And all of you will have something to say. So don't worry about what you're saying, but how you're saying. And this is where again we go back to our articulation and storytelling. Your one pager, two pages, three pages, whatever you prepare should tell a story about you. It should say, hey, who I am, what I am, what is it that I bring to the table, how is the company going to benefit, yeah, how I'm going to be an integral part of this organization fabric, how can I help, how can I help myself, yeah. Unless until that is coming out, right, your shortlisting itself doesn't move to the next level. Now, why all these points are important? Now, if I have 100 people in the institution as an example, and I have 200 requirements, then if the organization is going through dire straits and it needs desperately people, they will say, let's get everybody, right? But if it's the other way around, right, if I have 100 requirements and I have 200 people applying for it, how do you make sure that you're a part of that 100? How do you make sure that the organization selects you from that 200? That is the overall intent of what we are trying to do in this session, right? Now, the most important thing, preparing for an interview, right? Now, when I say preparing for an interview, what do I need to do? I'll probably have to go through the pre-placement talks. I'll have to probably listen and do some groundwork in terms of what the company that is coming for, understand some basics in terms of what they do, why are they come here, whether they have an history coming to that particular institution. Can you reach out to your seniors and understand what they're doing there, because they are brand ambassadors of your institution in that particular organization. When you go for an interview, what is the kind of dress that you're wearing, grooming, the attire, and what happens in that interview process is, now if you start from the background and history and pedigree, that is where it gets started. You are sitting in that room because of the fact that you might have ticked off the pedigree, the history, the lineage, the golden 60% rule, right? And then from your fresh mind to skills to relevance, everything is going to be looked at in that half an hour or 1 hour, correct? And this is very, very important that in that half an hour you are able to articulate and do a good storytelling to the committee for you to make an impact, right? So as an associate, you should have the ability to radiate. Please understand, in today's world, people don't care about where you come from, how you look, right? What you wear. People only see what do you bring to the table, right? It is not you cracking the interview. It's the committee saying, I want this person to be a part of my team. Why? Because this guy has something that extra. I want this associate to be a part of my team so that we as a team can deliver better. So you have to radiate, the fresh minds approach in terms of your ability to change, your ability to open to change, your ability to be moldable, your ability to align and adapt. So every storytelling that you're talking about should pass that information, which talks about your attitude, it talks about your clarity of thoughts, it talks about your ability to learn, it talks about your ability to connect and network, it talks about your language, the use of words. It should say that, hey, this guy has prepared and practiced and has come to this. It should say that he's ready. Those are the articulation points that should come from that half an hour that will drive that particular session. Now, before I close, a lot of people think I will prepare for the interview. Those guys are going to ask questions, and I'm going to prepare these 10 or 15 questions, and I'm going to prepare for that. Right? So absolutely correct. You should be preparing in that light, and it is very necessary. You look at Google, you look at your seniors, you look at previous ones, and have a complete preparation, have a good outlook, and prepare. Right? Please understand, any interview, whether it's fresh or lateral, an interview is, what's the right word I have to use here? An interview is led not by the interviewer. Please understand that. An interviewer is led by you as a person. Apart from the first one or two standard questions, what happens in that half an hour is based on what you as an associate open your mouth and start telling. So most of the questions are usually led from what you say. And whatever you say, the questions will follow based on that, and one question will lead to another. So the first 2 to 3 standard questions, then you will lead the interviewer to, enable that session. And when you end, again, he will ask you 1 or 2 standard questions. This is what happens in any standard interviews. So the outcome of an interview, or how you want to drive the interview, is in your hands. And that's the reason why we say you have to be prepared and practice. And based on the storytelling that you do, you can work on your strengths and you can lead the interview on your strengths. And at the same time, when you have those tough questions, you should have the ability to say, I don't know nothing. Nobody is going to say that you should know everything. And with those clarity of thoughts and your ability to say that, hey, I scream pedigree, I scream the fresh mind concept, I have the skills, I've got the relevance, I've got the communication skills, and I'm ready to be a part of that particular organization, a simple tick mark happens for you. Right? So these are something that I believe strongly when that we have learned in our journeys, experiences from our colleagues and peers, as I said before. So what I've put together is a very simple, straightforward approach without not complicating too much, but the most basic fundamentals in each of the blocks, and you need to align to each of the blocks for you to be able to look forward to the aspirations that you have to crack any interview, whether it is happening in your institutions or outside. So with this, I will close the 3 blocks that we highlighted in the green sessions. And then Jagan, Dr. Sujata, if you want to add anything, otherwise we'll open it to our participants for some questions. Yeah. Dr. Jagan?
Yes, Raju. You covered thoroughly the crisp of the entire process, from the demand to how to prepare and how to land into that particular opportunity, what is required and how it happens, how it starts, the opportunities or maybe the supply demand, and how the organization mindset, how the people mindset, the associates mindset, aspirants, and then what makes them to land there. There's absolutely everything perfect. A gist of entire process you outlined thoroughly. So I invited questions. I mean, any participants, if you are unable to, chart, you can directly put it to me. One question came. Shall we start with this one, question and answers, or maybe how shall we take it, Raju? I can add something in conversation.
Yeah, we can take questions one at a time. I think the whole intent is to be have this as an interactive session.
Correct.
So maybe somebody can raise their hand. I don't know how they do it here, and they can ask the question. Yeah.
Okay. So one question, one by one, I will be taking. One question came, Maria. Network is issue. Maria, what exactly you mean? Network is an issue for you? She is saying that network is an issue.
Okay. So we are talking to the point which is called as connected network. Is that what you're asking, Dr. Jagan? Yeah.
I think so. Maybe you can cover broadly and specifically also.
Okay. Okay. So see, the market, the environment that we currently work is huge. At the same time, it is limited. It is a paradox in a sense, that our friends and friends or colleagues or peers will be spread across, correct? So today, let's say, suppose you join a company called A, and you are working there for 2 to 3 years. And you may not be happy, you might be doing extremely well, you might want to look out for some other reason. What we want to say, it is that connection and the networking that you have that will help you land in the next step of your journey. Now, if you have to go through the normal process, right? For example, I'll give a very simple example. If there is a requirement for a particular role, and somebody is putting that up in a Naukri or a LinkedIn or any other job site. Today, for one role, you have close to about 1,000 profiles getting applied. Now, do you think that somebody behind that ID would go through all the 1,000 profiles and see that? Now, somebody might do it, but that is a 1 in a million chance. But in today's world, you have robots that are being deployed to actually source CVs based on skill sets and and keyword matching and kind of like that, right? And it is extremely difficult, though you might be the right person. If you are given an interview chance, you might crack it. But the problem is, in today's world, your CV doesn't even get shortlisted for an interview. That is one of the biggest problems that is happening currently today. Why? Because you have a person who knows somebody who will say, hey, fair enough, I have this opportunity, you give me that profile, I will send it to the guy. It will get the visibility. Somebody will get that eyes to see that profile. So why it is important to connect and network? This is the fundamental reason. If you want your profile to go to the right people, when I say right people, to the hiring manager, to the proper HR, then if you're connected, it could be that somebody from your team is working in that company. It could be somebody. So you have the right connections, then the ability to reach your ambition becomes very, very easy. Yeah. Does that answer that question? Yeah.
Yes, Raju. So let me share one of the experience, Raju. I think I can't resist myself, silent.
Sure, absolutely.
Let me add a couple of points. It is around 2012. I got a approval for 5 people, and I was looking for a very specific capabilities. Money was not the question for me, for my boss. So how to handle it? It is very difficult, where I was getting around 100. I could not able to shortlist. Please understand, shortlisting itself, not even 5. So it is very difficult for me to fulfill that requirement, and I need deadly need that skills. 5 people. So it is like this. If you wherever you may be, it's like artificial intelligence and all. I mean, we haven't started using with Naukri and LinkedIn, not yet started. There were some propositions were going, but it allows me to filter out by the specific keywords, right? Varieties of, like how we will do Google, right? We filter out like anything, and then we found a couple of, and in that also shortlisting a budget and everything. Budget was not a problem, but still it will be a problem. I mean, there will be constraints will be there, but that will not stop me to hire a best person. So once I could able
Absolutely.
to find out the right person and I conversate with them, see whether he is selected or not. I need at least his organization or his friends. It's easy to crack, circle and everything with the given social networking sites and LinkedIn and other
Absolutely.
things. We were
Absolutely.
able.
Absolutely.
I was stopped looking into the Naukri or maybe any other portal. I mined his network. I mined the network, his network, and his references. Believe me, he was just 3 years old. I mean, experienced person. We the budget was the I have 10, but he was looking for 12 plus, and I could able to get approval, but little late. By then he got joined somewhere, but his network helped me in getting fulfilled that. So where is from network and how you will be find out. I mean, you will be able to traced easily. It is not about
Sure.
that somebody tracing you, and with whom you are associating, with whom you are connected. How best people you are connected, and whatever the work that you are doing. Most of the time at the freshers time, this is also another example. You mentioned very good point. Copy, right? Objective also we will try to copy from somewhere. So with all that experience of degree, up to degree and everything, we were unable to write 3 lines about ourselves. Is sometimes even I did that. I mean, then later within a time I was realized that what is this nonsense. I could not able to write on my own. Most of the time what we do, I mean, I don't say that majority, but most of the time what we tempted as a human being, copy paste somewhere. No, you write, you present yourself. The resume is the face of your entire profile experience. And another point that you mentioned, Raju, so I had, I mean, gained too much of experience. Now I was asked to write one single page covering letter, or maybe about my profile, not more than that. It was so difficult for me to resisting myself writing my autobiography. No, what you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that
Yes.
is
Yes.
where it undergone like anything, the grinding. What is this opportunity? Out of my so much of skills, which one is very relevant for this? And what makes me to placed over there in that position? You have a
Very
urge,
true.
you will be able to present yourself in a single page. Very difficult is cutting the entire luggage is very difficult at any experience level or at any given situation. So that is very important 2 points you mentioned. Hope that adds. And some few more questions, Raju, came.
Yes, yes, Jagan. I think we've got a very good question from Mr. A.M. Khan. Shall we finish Dr. Arun first,
Yes,
and then we
yes,
can,
yeah,
because I see he has got 3 or 4 questions. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Dr. Arun, yes, please. I think you have to unmute. How do we unmute? I think he has a hand raised. Can you ask the question, Dr. Arun?
1 second. Let me see whether how we
Can
can
we
do that.
unmute only Dr. Arun? Yeah,
Arun Balodi, right?
correct. That is correct.
I don't know. Maybe Sujata madam, can you be able to unmute him?
Just I'll check, sir.
Yeah, I think, madam, if you go to that mute icon, yeah, I think he's unmuted. Yes, Mr. Dr. Arun.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Raju, because it was very good session, and you have given complete insight that what exactly a candidate has to do for building resume to a CV to add skills and all these things to get a job. But as just Mr. Jagannath also have mentioned his experience regarding the recruitment and all, do you think that the kind of policies that we have as a recruiter, sometimes we lose the right candidate because of the policies itself, because we don't have that kind of acknowledgement culture. If someone is applying for job, we don't acknowledge at all to that application itself. And if any query came from the candidate side, we don't respond. We think that we will find some other person who will not ask question. So are we only looking to the candidates in our organization, those who never ask question to us? Because if they will ask question, then it will be difficult for us sometime to answer, or he may be trouble creating person. We think like this only if someone is asking genuine question itself in the recruitment duration only.
Okay.
Have you can you comment on this, sir?
Yes, absolutely, Dr. Arun. Yeah. So I will cut this into two parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
One,
It's two
there is an
that have to merge actually.
no
Yeah.
problem, no problem. Yeah.
Sure.
So I will say from my experience. Yeah. Because I've been part of delivery, I've been part of sales, and I've been part of the hiring process itself. Yeah. And I've been a hands-on recruiter as well. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
can a recruiter look at every profile and give a response? The answer is no.
Obvious.
Okay. Point number two. For whatever profiles he looks at, does he want to give that information back? The answer is yes, but he may not be able to because he's overwhelmed by the amount of transactional activities that he or she does. Okay, that's point number two. Point number three, there are two types of questions, right? You can ask the right questions. At the same time, there are questions that take away the focus of a session. For example, in a pre-placement talk, right? You might ask the right questions, but if those questions are right, in the right direction, trust me that the committee, I'm saying the hiring committee, would definitely want you to be in that space. No doubt about it, right? Now, people will always come with some prejudices. No doubt about it. No matter how professional we are, there's always going to be a certain small element of prejudice, right? That is going to be there, that is going to dictate how you're going to look at, correct? So it is very tough to say. And it depends upon how open the committee is also there to look at you, right? So what dictates is the supply and the demand. That's the only thing that dictates. If I have a problem and I need you, even if you don't pick up the phone, I will call you 100 times. The moment for one role I have 100 CVs, if you call 10 times, I will not pick up. That's the unforeseen thumb rule that works, right? So
Yeah.
that is where it goes to that fundamental. In a typical engineering institutions, etc., you are given pre-placement talks, etc. Now I will go back to one of the points that I raised here. If you raise those questions and you have clarity in thought, the questions will come out correctly. If you blabber, or if you're not able to control your thoughts and the questions don't fall in, then you're killing your own candidature. Are you with me, Dr. Aaron?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that is why it is very important. Sometimes it's good to be silent, but you should ask the right questions. Absolutely no problem. That is my view, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we unmute Mr. A.M. Khan, is it? I think he's got 3 or 4 questions. So, Dr. Sujata, if you can, please.
Madam, please.
Yes, yes.
A.M. Khan, madam. He
AM
has a
Khan.
couple of questions. Yeah.
Yes. I think it's a very interesting question from A.M. Khan. I think his third question is absolutely fantastic. For example, I think I'll go back to Dr. Arun. So this is a very, very relevant question. I don't know about A.M. Khan's background, but I think the third,
I'm
yeah.
good evening.
Yes.
I am
Yeah.
Dr. M. Khan, professor of ENC at Mangalore University.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Okay,
also
sir.
take care of some placements and all. That's how
Fantastic.
I thought this would be an interesting webinar to attend.
Sure.
My
Sure.
questions, all the three I typed, were basically on skilling.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, the third one, if it is there with you on your screen.
Yes. Yeah, it is all the three are there. Yes, yes. So
Yeah,
I think we have three questions, right? What do you mean by skill gaps? What does
yeah,
skilling mean? And does articulation work? Skill sets can be articulated, but imbibed by practice and follow up. Correct. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at one by one, Mr. Khan. Yeah.
yeah.
What do you
Okay.
mean by skill gaps? Right. I will give you a very example of my journey. Right. I think we were talking about 20 years back. When we went to Trivandrum, we got trained in predominantly mainframe. I think there was a 3 months training in TCS Trivandrum. We got trained on mainframe. There was a huge demand, and there was another batch that was also going on Java and JSPs and EJBs, etc. So once the training got completed, we got shipped to Chennai. Once we came to Chennai, they said there's a huge program project that's coming in from TEFE, and there's a new technology called broad vision. You have to go and get trained on that because that is the new project that's going to come. So we went and got trained on broad vision. Yeah, for almost about 4 months, we were all sitting in TEFE organization. And after that, they sent us to Calcutta for a training on ETL called Ab initio, which is predominantly based on Unix. Now, all these skills that I'm talking about is aligned to a particular program or a project based on the forecast that our organization at that point in time had. Now, it could be possible that it is there or it is just coming, we don't know, right? But with all this, they sent us to UK, example, on a particular project where we had to do this broad vision, and the project was on broad vision. But we had two centers. One was London, and the other one was Cardiff. So we were supposed to go to Cardiff. We landed in UK, and they said, "You don't have to go to Cardiff. Please go to London." Now, once we went to London, we were about 5 to 6 people. They said, "We are going to put you on development." They didn't put us in broad vision. They put us in pure play Unix shell scripting, and then they said, "I'm going to put 4 people on Unix shell scripting, 1 person on pure play testing," as an example. Correct. Now, I don't know, as a person, I'm exposed to these 4 or 5 technologies. I'm supposed to do development, I'm supposed to do testing, right? So the message that I'm trying to say here is the demands of the organization vary. And in our case, it could have been too dynamic, but usually, till the time you get aligned to that particular skill, that dynamism is there. Once you get aligned, then you stick to that skill in that particular program or for project for a couple of years. The second question, that is what we mean by skilling, right? How do we take care of the current that supply we have to align to the demand that we have? That is what every organization will go through, right? And then what do I mean by skill gaps? Now, if I'm a developer, if I'm good on C, then tomorrow if there is a skill on Java, for me to port from C to Java becomes very easy because the thought process, the approach would be very, very similar, but the syntax might be different. So we should not have a problem in terms of that skill gap where we are aligning them with the new syntax, right? But if I completely take him from that particular domain and put him onto a completely something different, then that gap is going to come in, right? So that is what we mean by skill gap and skilling. Now, the third most important question, I think that is what caught my eye. Does articulation work? Skill sets can be articulated, but imbibed by practice. 100% articulation works even when it comes to skill sets. Okay. Now, why do I say that? I'll give you an example, right? Now, today we lead a portfolio called robotic process automation. Now, the hottest skill in the market today is RPA across the entire industry. Why suddenly? because what RPA does is process automation. Means if there is a huge set of people doing repetitive tasks in our call centers, could be inbound, could be outbound, could be back office, then how does the bot do that job so that that skill can be used, that effort can be used anywhere? Yeah. So one of the hottest things in the market today is RPA. Now within the RPA, you could use Blue Prism, you could use UiPath, you could use automation anywhere based on various tools, platforms that the industry provides us, right? Now, if you go and sit in an interview, sir, and people speak to the associates, and I need to find somebody, there are two things that we ask. Can you please tell us a process which is currently the as-is process, which is all manual and a lot of interventions? And can you please tell me how that particular process was automated? No matter what the skill, whether you're going to use Blue Prism or UiPath or automation anywhere, your ability to articulate the process in terms of what the current as-is is and what the to be is what will give the committee clarity in terms of what the associate brings to the table, right? Even if you
Yeah.
take, for example, whether it is Java or C++, they might ask us and say, hey, can you give me an algorithm to say, how do I am going to do a particular activity? The algorithm is nothing but a simple step-by-step approach. We are not talking complex algorithms, but at least for me to look at how the guy will look at the approach, he has to articulate the solution. So if the clarity is there in terms of the articulation, that is what is going to take us forward, right? I'm not asking saying, hey, can you write me a Java code? Fair enough. That will come to the very last. Why this articulation helps? In most of the roles, not most, in every role, you need to interact with somebody. And you're not going to just interact with code. You're going to interact because you're going to ask for a requirement. You're going to interact because you're going to tell that this particular process has been automated. You want to deploy. You want to train the users in terms of how to use this, etc. So all that is happening is using a particular language, and we have to communicate. And hence, the better we articulate, the better we are able to send the message across. Yeah, and it's a personal view that definitely articulation will help if that is cultivated, and that is something it is always we all of us are learning on a daily basis, because learning never stops, right? Even from today's session, we are learning something, we are taking something out, and then how do we use it in tomorrow's day-to-day's activities? So that is my view on that particular question, Mr. Khan.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Articulation with the prior skilling also will definitely land us onto the opportunity, sir. I feel.
Yes.
So there
So,
is a couple
sorry,
questions from
Jagan, can I just take a small,
yeah,
lead
please,
there?
please.
I think this question leads me to another point that I wanted to say, because as Dr. mentioned, Dr. Sujata mentioned that most of the associates are in their fourth year, fifth years, etc. One of the areas that you have an opportunity to articulate, because every associate, the first 2 years are common, the next 2 years are common. So, what is it that you're going to say in that committee interview, right? So your second year, at the end of the second year, you have a project. At the end of the fourth year, you have a project, right? That project, I don't know if it's relevant today, but you have an opportunity to speak what you have done in that 1 month, 2 months, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. You have an opportunity to articulate and bring attention to yourself in that space, that when you talk about yourself or your profile. That's a beautiful thing where you can bring your articulation skills, you can bring your technical skills, you can bring your relevance of the project to the domain that you're looking for. So it's an amazing opportunity to prepare and practice, to say that story, what you've done in that 2 months and 4 months. Yes, Jagan, back to you.
Okay, so a couple of questions. I think we are 6:15 now. We planned till 6:30. Vishal has some question.
Okay.
I mean, so Vishal, is he still there, or he or she?
Yeah, some Vishal, I think he's talking about certifications. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Vishal, you're there on the call?
I
Yeah,
don't know.
one more question we have, sir, from R. Divya.
Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Divya.
How do we stand out in off-campus interviews when you are a fresher and not from IIT, NITs, etc.? Most resumes are rejected directly.
Hmm. Okay, it's actually a very tough question. I will, because there is no easy answer there. I understand these struggles, okay, that people go through. See, I will start from the start, right? For example, when a person comes out of college, if there are campus interviews within that college, that is one of the best mediums to take that opportunity. If you miss that opportunity, that means you have not prepared and you have not practiced to be a part of the demand when it comes to that particular college, because they are giving you an exclusive audience. Why would you want to let that opportunity go, right? Now I move on to the next part, which is there is no campus interviews, and then I'm coming out of my college. How do I move next? Okay. Now, most of the companies give you a very fair opportunity where they say, hey, you just apply, you are going to take a simple examination, which could be a combination of skills, technical skills, plus a combination of these mathematics, reasoning, and arithmetics, etc. And if you're able to clear that, you're through. So there you need to be socially relevant in terms of what is the kind of skills that particular organization is looking for. You need to prepare for that, and you need to be strong in the basics of your mathematics, yeah, and for you to crack that. 50 to 60% of the organizations today, even if they go to campuses, etc., they are conducting drives which say that, you know, we are taking care of this year's pass out, next year's pass out, and then they're putting up these examinations where you have to go and take them. And if you're able to clear, then yes, definitely. So the moment you lose that opportunity in the college, then the amount of effort that you need to put is not 2x or 3x, it becomes 10x. Why? Let's say in your college, you could have 1,000 people coming out, or you have 2,000 people coming out. But when you come into the local market and then apply, you're talking 10,000, 20,000. So the odds of you cracking that is even more difficult. That's point number one. Point number two, again, I will say today the freshers market is absolutely amazing with abundant opportunities. You just have to go and knock the right doors. What do I mean by that? Look at your friends who have gone and joined, talk to them, ask for a reference, ask them to talk to your managers and say, hey, I have this skill. You know, is there an opportunity? People, if you say that you're less than 2 years, you don't have to worry. The number of opportunities in the market is so much that if you just prepare yourself for 1 to 2 months with some good skill set, which is relevant to you, which is something that you've done in your 4 years, or something that the market demands, and then you go and then knock the doors, you will definitely be successful, right? There is no right or wrong answer, but it is your resilience, it is your focus that will get you the job, 100%. And trust me, one more thing, maybe if I can extrapolate my answer. A lot of people, you know, one associate came and said, hey, I want something only in the security domain. I want only in this. Yes, please try. Please be choosy, because that is what your aspiration will take care. But if things are not that great, take an opportunity that comes away. You never know what will take you from that opportunity to another, because you might get into that opportunity, use that opportunity to sustain yourself, and then using that, go and get your dreams, right? So whenever there's an opportunity, please accept it in the real spirit, and then use that as a stepping stone, right? Yeah, it's better to have something than nothing, and then with that something, go to the next level, right? And every opportunity will give you ample opportunities to succeed. Dr. Sujata, yeah.
Yes, sir. So we have one more question, sir, from Shishir Patil. What care
Yes, Mr.
students should take to place in company during pandemic situation?
Sorry, please say that again.
What care students should take to place in company during pandemic?
Okay, fair enough. So again, I will answer this question in two parts. Okay. Whether it is pandemic or no pandemic, it is only the supply demand that dictates the equation, right? If the organization has enough demand during the pandemic, it will hire. If the organization, even though there is no pandemic, but there is no demand, they will not hire, correct? So your fundamental rules of application remains the same, and it only the supply and the demand that will dictate the market, right? So whether it is pandemic or not, our objective is to get a good opportunity in a nice organization. So you have to work towards that in terms of how do you align yourself to ensure that you're able to get a spot for you to crack the interview and then get that opportunity, right? As a matter of fact, from what the data says, I think the number of opportunities during this pandemic have actually increased and doubled for the people who are less than 5 years. And that is why I keep saying that the market today is absolutely very, very hot for young people. They have abundant opportunities, not just in the IT space, even in the other sectors, there's a lot of boom. As I said, you just need to identify and knock the right doors for you to be successful.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Is
Now,
Mr. Vishal there, still there, or is not there?
Vishal, we have one request from Kirti Priya.
Okay.
That she is asking, can we get the recording of this session? Maybe
That is some
yeah.
that is something the IEEE chapter will take a call, I guess. Yeah. So
So I have to request Dr. Parameshachari sir.
can I
Provide.
ask why? Can I ask why? Can we ask that madam why does she need this recording?
Yeah, she got disconnected, sir, due to internet issues.
Okay. Fair enough. No problem. Yeah. I think we can share the slides, if not the
Yeah.
recording. Yeah. Yes. Any other questions?
Can we a couple of questions? I can couple them because of the time constraint.
Okay.
Yes.
Multiple skills with basic or intermediate level. What kind of skills we required? Is it required any certifications, or is it something how fast we will be able to write programs or something like that? Those are the questions.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
with your
Okay.
permission, I can also take that question. Basically, as many as skills you have, right? I mean, it is good. Mastering one is not alone will not help you to crack a opportunity. Say what you need to do is some area. Say for example, I wanted to take up some UAV related, or you may artificial intelligence related, or like performance related, or maybe something, whichever that one you are thinking about in the project. You do research also. What are the companies working on that? Predominantly, you will get all IT companies will be working. What are the other medium and small scale? What is the demand in this area? You do your research, and then you are keeping a track of those companies as a plan B kind of action. That is also possible, helps. And somebody asks, so that if campus and everything is not works out, your project may be interesting for them. So you need to search for the where is the demand, and then you can align your skills or project, or maybe even when you wanted to get skilled on particular area, because you are going to put a lot of money or maybe time, energy, despite your semester exams and other things you may need to study extra. All those things should not go waste. So you should be able to reach where is the market for that, and you need to keep that in track. Out of those such opportunities, you can pick up and choose it. Definitely somebody asks skill, I mean certification. Certification will definitely will filter your resume by HR. But end of the day, your ability to design or maybe understand well the concepts and for a given problem, how you can align those skills, or where how we can use, I mean, the requirements to design and coding is definitely coding aspect that will be certified. So once certification is there, you will get a confidence, and resume definitely shortlisted, but doesn't guarantee you a job. So that is one thing. All you mentioned is perfectly required if you have certification. You okay?
So we've
Any
got
other
5
questions?
more minutes,
Yeah,
Jagan.
yeah,
So
yes, yeah.
anybody, any other questions, burning questions that you guys want to ask? I see during the interview, is it required to master one skill to get a job? Okay. Can I answer this question? Somebody, I
Please,
don't know who
please,
is it.
please,
Is
Raj,
it required to
please.
master one skill to get a job? Okay. See, previously there was a trend which says, you're a jack of all trades but master of none. But I think in today's world, I think if you want to go in the long run, it's definitely good to be a master of one or two, right? So in that sense, I would say pick up 2 skills and make sure you are the best in that, right? And that will take you far, because the moment you are good in 2 things, you can extrapolate that goodness to any other skill, and that becomes very easy. The moment you become too good in 1 or 2 skills, that will take you very, very far. So yes, you have to spend a lot of time on 1 or 2 skills. Make sure those skills are relevant, make sure those skills are something that the organization demands, and then focus on that 100%. It will help you take you far. Yeah. And during the interview, any webinar certificates are useful? What use is of webinar certificates? Maybe just to extend to what Mr. Jagan mentioned. See, when you go for these examinations at a freshers level, first year, second year, they're not going to ask any certificates. They're going to keep an examination, technical examination, some mathematical examination questions. So you should be able to crack that. Just because you have an certification, you're not going to get a job. First, you have to clear that exam. And if you have a certification, what does it say about you? If you have a certificate, it means that you have done certain checkpoints that enable you to be slightly better. You know the framework, you know what is the right thing for that particular certification, what is the content in that certification. Once you get into an organization, within the organization's growth, there are certain certifications that help you move from one level to other. Certification doesn't guarantee. It only is a tool. It's only a stepping stone for you to get you a better view in terms of the frameworks that the industry provides, etc. Yeah, as long as you are strong, you are focused, you're determined in the skill that you have, then definitely it's a yardstick for you to say, I've cleared level 1, level 2, level 3, etc. So you can say that this is how strong I am in that. That is where that particular certifications will help. Yeah. Second.
Participants, please fill the feedback URL I shared. I mean,
Oh, okay. There's a feedback.
any other question? Yeah, yes.
Okay. I think 53 people. Thank you so much for taking time on a Saturday evening and attending and so patiently listening to my English. I'm not a great speaker, but I just wanted to share some of the experiences. It might look very simple on the surface, but every point has a very in-depth meaning to it, and you just have to give the required importance that it needs for you to use that input to align to your ambitions. So I wish all of you the very best, and each one of you, aspire and reach your ambitions. Yeah. So good luck and all the best to everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Jagat, sir.
Madam, I like to interrupt. Sorry, I have some question for Mr. Raju.
Yes,
Myself,
yes.
Dr. Amber.
Yes, Dr. Amber.
Yes. So thank you for very insightful talk regarding the hiring process. My comment is, sir, like I am from the electronics background. We keep learning. I'm the faculty. Earlier, I was in the industry. I'm keep changing as per the market demands. Now, the trend is AI, ML, and IoT. So everyone is learning in this direction only. And this is changing very fast. Maybe 5 years, 10 years after, some biological things will come and people will learn that. So this is a question about how fast we adaptable to all, like how it depends in the hiring process. If somebody having these skills, and how long it is taking to change our skills in these different domains. Since this particular domains require in-depth knowledge in the computer science field, particularly AI, ML,
Okay.
and
Fair
deep
enough.
learning.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll answer that question, right? So irrespective of whether you're in the hardware industry, the software industry, right? I will take a very recent example because you talked about ML and AI, and that is something, it's an extension to the current portfolio that I deliver for the organization that I currently work for. Yeah. About 5 years back, we started the RPA portfolio, right? The first year we burnt our fingers because we were new, we didn't know. Yeah. The second years we became masters, and the third and fourth year we've already exhausted our pipeline. Correct. Even today, in the last 1 year and this year, there are still companies who are still pursuing RPA process, etc. But the now what we call as RPA is now moved to what is called as IPA, which is slightly intelligent process automation. So it's all buzzwords, English, etc. Now, when you say data, ML, and AI, it's not new. It is with us for the last 20, 30 years, except for the fact that how we used that data was slightly different. What do I mean by that? There was data there also, but the amount of data then and the amount of data now, is it different? No, it is still the same. The patterns are different. No, we don't know. But what today currently is that we have platforms to capture that data. Previously, we didn't have much of the platforms to capture that data. So today we have that data. Now, because of the internet and because of the online platforms, online shopping experiences, customer experiences, these companies are using the data to do their marketing and use information and use decisions that come from this data to enable them to sell better products, better services, etc., etc. Right? So a straight answer to your question, usually a general thumb rule, I'm not saying yes or no, but the general thumb rule is about 5 years for any new buzzword, right? RPA was there 4 to 5 years. Now, as you said very rightly, it is all ML and AI. Why? Because there is data, and how do we use that data? Correct. So this ML and AI is nothing but the data. For example, if you take an engineering institution, they will say, I have about 500 people, 1,000 people coming out of this. How do I ensure that all my 1,000 people get jobs? Right? Okay, I have 100 companies coming to my company, to my engineering institution. What are the kind of skills that they're looking for? How do we ensure that we skill our associates to those mappings, right? So this is all data. This is only ML and AI. The degree of how much ML and AI depends upon what kind of data that you have. This could be very elementary in terms of supply forecasting, etc. You look at the data from the aviation industry. What kind of travel that people will look for? What kind of hotels and what kind of areas that people want to travel to, so that's based on that, how do I price my ticket? Should I keep it on the lower side? Should you be it on the higher side? During this particular season, the hotels are booked better. So all this today, previously we didn't have that information. It was all in paper. Now we have that data in the computerized form, and that enables people to take decisions better, and that is why that trend is happening now of late. So the next 5 or 10 years, we don't know what will dictate the market, correct? So now they're saying conversational AI is also picking up. So previously, people said, wow, Alexa, today you had to speak with the remote. Tomorrow you don't have the remote, you can directly speak to the TV. So, a lot of things are happening, a lot of things are changing, but thumb rule, 5 to 6 years is what, will sustain, and then it will die off. I won't say die off, it will, something else will catch up. That's how we see it. Yeah.
Every time a new technology comes in, there are courses which again give certifications. say we offer certification
Correct.
and so and so,
Absolutely.
so and so.
Yes, yes.
That is more confusing to the students. Rather, it is
Okay.
better to have good foundations and then follow up one or two skills as you told, so that they can extrapolate that to whatever requirements when they get into the job. Uh,
Okay.
is
Okay.
it right,
So
Dr. Raju?
can I say something there? It is not
Yeah.
confusing only to the freshers. Even in our industry at 15 years, people struggle today because there is Prince 2, there's PMP, there's PFO, there's product owner, there's Scrum, etc. Today it's a business. See, previously, I don't know, in the good olden days, there were, if I still remember, I think from the ASI, etc. If they give you a certification and you pass that, it means you are a star. You are too good in that space. That was the kind of thought process a certification would hold. But today, there are so many certifications, there are so many in the market, and it's become a huge business empire. So I don't want to comment on that. At least if you take my personal view, I don't believe in certifications. That is why I will go back to my fundamental point saying the basics. If you have your basics right in that particular skill, you would be able to see through yourself. And then within the multitude of certifications that you have, pick up the top one or two, and if the budget permits, yes, you can go ahead and take it. But just because of a certificate, nobody will be able to get a job. The other way of looking at it is, I've seen, not just me, I mean Jagan, everybody from their experiences, there are a lot of people who have certifications but they can't deliver in the real ground scenarios. So if you stick to your basics and clarity, that should see through. But definitely the additional certifications, one or two, if you focus and then take a cue, that will help somewhere, sometime.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, one point. I mean, with time is constrained, we already out on time on top of our schedule. Quickly, because Amber sir also mentioned, Raju sir also mentioned a similar point. AI is there, sir. AI is there before even 20 years back. This cross algorithm, or maybe shortest path algorithm, or knowledge how you represent it. It's a boring subject when I studied. Okay, and I know a couple of people who my friends studied MTech, especially in AI, offered by Central University Hyderabad. Okay, so they were there in the industry for a long time, and now their qualification may not be relevant because they are not fresh in view or fresh in the technology. So more than AI or something, if you see, I mean, what the best way for a job to crack or understand the market, as I mentioned before, I'll go and search for AI-based companies who are all there and see their job openings in their job portal and map this my skills. That is the best way, irrespective of the domain you will automatically get. If you want to be a think tanker, definitely then some patents or maybe something in that enormous work if you already done, say, in that area. So suddenly when AI kind of people, machine learning kind of people, when we wanted one of our previous organization, they went to college and freshers MTech, only MTech, they were offering ML and ML as a specialization kind of thing. They have recruited. And moreover, a Tableau may land me into a business or maybe data analysis, data science kind of job, than full of algorithms alone will not help me. So certification where, what exactly? Because as Raju mentioned, the business is very important. Where is the business? For that, how I can align my skills? It may be a very good skill that ML or maybe AI qualification of MTech around 20 years back qualification now, but I'm not in the right timing I have chosen there, right? If I done 20 years back, it may not be relevant now. The algorithms, the kind of, we are seeing our in our ITS only, we saw a lot of professors have implemented a lot of applications. So that was more popular after Google. Before Google, we were AI was there, but nobody were there's no demand for it, kind of thing. Demand and supply, that's also works. The best way for
So
a
quick.
job, yeah, go ahead,
Sorry.
Raju.
Yeah, Jagan. No, go ahead. No, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
That's it. So important thing is the business, what kind of skills that is required. I mean, how we can learn those areas, kind of thing. that's very important.
Just two more things, Jagan. I'll just take 1 minute. I think we probably missed this one. Somebody asked, speed of programming, logic used, approach, elaborate on our programming skills. Nobody's going to say then whether you can finish it in 1 minute or 2 minutes. Nobody's going to do that. As long as the logic and the approach is correct, they'll be more than happy to pick you up. If the logic and the approach is right, hands down, they will ensure that, they will like you. Yeah. So that is something, one of the questions was there in the chats.
Yeah? Yes, that was unanswered. Thank you, Raj. Raj. So, so I think we can conclude, Madam Sujata Madam. We are already crossed our time, basically. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Can I request Kishore sir to conclude, sir? Kishore sir is there?
Maybe not around, I think. Maybe, shall I take that opportunity, Madam?
Yes, sir. Sir, you can conclude, sir.
Yes. So thanks for all the participants, and thanks for our ITS, committee and members, extended members, coordinators. I mean, thank you very much. And firstly, thank you very much, Raju, for coming on to this forum and giving good information, insights about from starting towards the end of the journey of getting it, cracking it, and what and all the skills required, what and all the how to be prepared or something like that. It was a nice discussion. It's more than a session. It is like an interactive discussion. Very thanks for your presence here and delivering the session here. Madam, you can concluding remarks. You may continue, Madam.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Raju sir, for spending your time and getting us to explore the things with respect to the hiring process. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Jagan. Thank you, Dr. Sujata. And to the participants, if at any point in time, if you guys need any information, please feel free to reach out to me or Dr. Jagan, and then we can help whatever we can. Yeah. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So all the participants can download the certificate. So the certificate link is provided. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers then. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Madam Sujata.
Yeah. Dr. Amber, shall I end the session?
Yes, I think most of you, I anticipate, downloaded the certificate.
Yeah.
So we can end. Thank you for cooperation, Madam. Actually, so many meetings is running correctly for me.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.